Hello everyone, my name is VoidDoctor, and welcome back to another episode on the InfinityCraft server. And today, well, unfortunately, it's the final episode of InfinityCraft Season 1. I did have an episode planned, but, file corruption. It's very nasty. So, my episode plan was kind of just doing some stuff in the end, but I already did that. It was kind of just like some final end busting and stuff. So, that's already been done. So, yeah, this is what I got from that. But, yeah, so unfortunately that episode was never able to come out, so I think we're just left with this episode, but I hope you guys enjoy this one, because it's sure to be a fun one. Today, we're going to do the official InfinityCraft Season 1 World Tour with shaders. So let's get those booted up. Now that's better, and what a better place to start this world tour than the place where InfinityCraft Season 1 began, which is this lovely little farmhouse that we constructed on Episode 1. Now, the floor plan of this place has never really changed. I mean, of course, we've added things as, you know, the season has progressed, but we've never really, you know, changed the core elements of this house. It's always been a fairly small little build, and I'm just kind of proud of the way it sort of feels on the inside. You know, it feels nice and cozy, and it's never really felt all that, you know, cramped, or it's always suited my needs, because I rarely ever actually come in here anymore for anything other than sleeping. And right off to the side of this house, we have the animal pens. The cows have all gone away, but we still have some sheep in the colors that I needed them for most recently. And I think the building that I probably spend the most time in on InfinityCraft anymore has probably got to be my storage hall, which is just this big wool building that's just full of chests all throughout the entire building. I'm hoping that next season... Okay, I'll stop. I'm hoping that next season I can build a larger storage hall, because towards the end of the season, it started to feel like I was running out of space for items. Like here, as you can see, it's just kind of miscellaneous stuff. So I never really felt like this was big enough, but I didn't really want to rebuild it because it felt like it would just be a waste of a building at that point. So I've always kind of just had to live with having a storage system that wasn't exactly adequate for my needs, but it still did the job alright. Really? Gotta ruin my world tour. Alright, we gotta wait for this to go away. That's better. Now that the thunder and lightning are gone away, we can actually look at probably my favorite part of this base, which is the vast wheat field that is on the side of the base and sort of just leads out into the plains, the countryside that this base was kind of based around. The whole countryside, the whole sort of countryside wheat field aesthetic, was kind of never really there in terms of, you know, being a really remote place, because it was always sort of dominated by the skyline of Grimstone's forge. But still, I always thought this wheat field kind of, it was just a really quaint build, and I just thought it was a really cute addition to the base that just made it feel more like a medieval build. We got some scarecrows, some bundles of hay, a nice tree. It took me hours to get a tree that looked good in here, but I finally decided upon this one because it just looked, you know, it was big enough so that it actually, you know, kind of made a statement in the wheat field, sorry. And I just think this whole place really kind of came together really nicely, and we did it all in an episode, which is kind of surprising considering how large this wheat field actually is. It's actually grown over time, and now it's this massive, you know, just sort of sea of wheat. Like, if you look at it from over here, it's one of my favorite builds on this server, just because it just looks so vast. Speaking of Grimstone's forge, this is it. This is probably the largest build on the server. Not the largest single build, that goes to someone else on the server who you'll see later, but this is probably the largest build on the server. It's this massive, you know, medieval sort of town that's just, it's taken many builders hours of their lives to construct. It's one of my pride and joys on the server, because I put many hours into building in this town. I think a lot of other people have too. So let's just give you a quick little mini tour, since we don't have time for an in-depth tour of the entire town. So starting on the outskirts of town, we had what was once a villager trading hall, but the villagers mysteriously disappeared. You're gonna notice a trend here. A lot of villagers mysteriously disappeared. So that's that happens a lot in this world. We had the actual library. Again, villagers mysteriously disappeared. We think a lot of the villagers on this server were killed by someone. And then here we have just a small little shack with some villagers in it. So then we have this massive tower that Vista of Grace planned to fill with villagers. but she never really got around to completing it, so it's always just kind of been filled up to like here with villagers, and other than that, it's like it's empty all the way up. And over here, we just have a small cart with like some barrels on it. That's not really important at all. It's just kind of a build that I added recently, just to kind of fill in the space right here. And then we have the original library. This is one of the original buildings on the server. It's kind of a missing window, actually. And it used to have villagers in it. Again, they mysteriously disappeared. And here we have the butcher hut with a cat. Please don't butcher the cat. And yeah, this place was just for kind of, you know, trading off meats and berries and things to the villagers. And here we have our village church. This was always just kind of used for clerics, but then when the clerics died, it kind of just became useless. Here's my original business on the server, the brewery, just a little small little brewery. Never really took off, never even got more than like 2 orders on the entire thing, and then someone stole my books, so it became completely useless. And here we have Vista of Grace's shop that kind of just fell apart because it was never actually completed. This shop kind of just never was completed. And then down here we have one of the more recent parts of the Grimstone's Forge, you know, sort of area, which is the docks. This was built a couple episodes ago. Just, you know, got the bridge kind of crossing the river, and then the docks down here with the Fletchers over there. And then across the docks, over on the other side of the shore on this little island right here, actually quite large island, we have the giant farmer trading hall area. Down here, if you press that button, you can go down, and there's just a bunch of farmers, just bunches of farmers just kind of lining the walls in here. I always thought this place looked really neat, just kind of with the leaves and the lighting, especially with shaders on. This place is beautiful with shaders on. This entire world is beautiful with shaders on because, you know, got the nice lighting. And then over here you have our massive wood farm from when a lot of buildings in the town burned down. We needed a really quick way to start repairing them, so we just built this giant wood farm that just I think I single-handedly farmed like 10 stacks of spruce in a couple hours here. I was just grinding for an entire day, just getting as much wood as possible to repair the buildings before I had to start recording the next episode. See, that, my friends, is why we don't grief on a YouTuber's Minecraft server. They'll always fight back. You can never escape the wrath of a YouTuber. And then over here we have this automatic oak farm. It never really took off because it required too much TNT to be really effective. But you just kind of lay down here and hold the right click button, and this thing would just, you know, bone meal would come up through the floor, and you just bone meal the sapling. It never really made any sense because it would always bug out and stuff. It was pretty much useless. I don't think I ever used this. I don't think I ever legitimately used this and thought, yes, this is a great use of my time. So I generally just prefer to use that. But it was an interesting concept at first, until I realized that I really was not good at designing these farms. And now we enter the heart of Grimstone's Forge, where we have just a few houses, and things that, you know, aren't very important, but just sort of added to the atmosphere of the town. You know, all down this road, there's just a bunch of houses. And then here we have one of my favorite builds. I just think it looks really nice. You know, we got the strip logs on top. It just looks like what it was supposed to be, which is like kind of a stump that got struck by lightning, but is still kind of growing. And then in here, you'd press this note block. It was a prank for the other Infinity Crafters. You'd press this note block, this piston would retract, and it would drop an anvil on your head. I just thought it would be hilarious to make that. And here we have a Plushie Shop that I was never really a serious business, but I just kind of made this to kind of advertise that we had the data pack. I made it like a couple days ago. It was a lot of these things were just things that I made. Like this, for example, was just something that I made in the last episode, but I wasn't really important enough to actually, you know, recap. You know, it was never really important. Last episode was never really important enough to recap anyway. I probably wasn't going to release it, so I'm not too sad that the footage got corrupted, because at least you have something entertaining to watch, like the World Tour now. And then here we have the heart of Grimstone's Forge, the beating heart of Grimstone's Forge, rather, Town Hall. It's this very large T-shaped building that inside there's a giant map of the Grimstone's Forge landscape. You know, you can see all of Grimstone's Forge, and then a lot of other Infinity Crafters bases as well. If you go in this door, there's nothing. But if you go in this door, there's a ladder which can go up. And here's sort of just like a, a nice little area, the town hall, the board meeting room. And then over here we have what I like to think of as the muscles of Grimstone's Forge, the Redstone district. We have a giant super smelter, which has been producing super smelting. Then here we have what I like to think of as the muscle of Grimstone's Forge, the thing that actually keeps the town running. We have the industrial district. Starting off the industrial district, we have the massive 16x super smelter. That means 16 furnaces, which means it can turn through a stack of items 16 times faster than your average furnace. And then the next build we have here is the the bamboo and sugarcane farm. The bamboo side stopped working because I think the torches fell off at some point, but it's just this massive observer activated bamboo and sugarcane farm with it's just giant and big and produces all the bamboo and sugarcane you could ever need, which is why the storage system needs to be much larger than it should be. It's excessive. Okay, these farms were excessive. The entire construction of these farms was unnecessary, but it was fun to do. Yeah, so these farms have just been pushing out bamboo and sugarcane since they were constructed, and this build is also something that I'm super proud of because it's just, I just think this build looks, it just looks impressive. It just kind of resembles what these farms always, it just kind of encompasses how important these farms are to the survival of this server and specifically of this town. And then here we just have a small cobblestone farm. You'd walk up these stairs and sort of just break this block here and press a button and it would just start. It's semi-automatic. It's not fully automatic. I was planning on making it fully automatic, but it just would have taken too long and probably wouldn't have really been worth it in the first place because you could have at that point just used haste to efficiency 5 beacons. The cobblestone generators are slowly being phased out. There it is. They're slowly being phased out. And then here we have this massive cactus farm. I think it's like 3 or 4 layers. I don't remember how many, but it's just been producing cactus like a dream this whole time. So yeah, this thing has really been quite useful. And here we have a small pumpkin farm that was originally supposed to be for creating bone meal and was in the beginning, but I just decided that wasn't necessary. So I just switched it out to being just a pumpkin farm. So now we have a total of 2 pumpkin farms, which is excessive, I know, but it's it's necessary for at least for what we do since we have so many villagers in this world. And then over here we have something which we built last episode, which is the Grimstone's Forge Cat Cafe. It's just a giant cafe where you can sort of order your food and then sit up here and just have some food with the cats on the balcony, inside, on the roof. We never really made a way to get on top of the roof, but it doesn't matter. You can just elytra fly up there, That's just what you gotta do. And that's fun. I have no clue who did that, but that's fun. Thank you for doing that. And here we have the home of the man, the myth, the legend, Too Much Mustard 57. He's been just steadily building his base after it's been griefed and destroyed so many times by criminals. And yeah, this base has kind of just stood the test of time, It's such a charming little base. It's got a nice color scheme. I just really appreciate this base because it's charming. It's just a beautiful... It sort of beautifully represents what Minecraft is. You have this, medieval city, and then you just have this. Minecraft doesn't have to make sense. It's because it's Minecraft. It's not really about making sense. It's about having fun. So I really enjoyed this build because I just think it sort of represents the playfulness that I think Minecraft represents really nicely, and it's just a beautiful build in general. And then out here on the outskirts of Grimstone's Forge, we have the Lighthouse, which is just constructed so we could sort of use it as a point of defense in case there was ever a war that broke out. I never actually finished the interior because I never lit it up and I never actually made a way to access the windows up there. So there's not actually a way to, use the lighthouse for its intended function. I just thought it looked nice. So that's pretty much the point of the lighthouse in a nutshell. And then leaving Grimstone's Forge, we have the home of Fake Blossom. I just really enjoyed this base because I think it, it's a really neat base because it doesn't really follow a certain build style. It's kind of just it kind of just looks aesthetically pleasing. You have these nice, it just combines so many different build styles. It looks really nice, and I always just really like this base because it, it doesn't really have a certain build style, yet it looks so pretty. You have the axolotl tanks, the bamboo bridges, the nice giant quartz house with like the nether, the nether, or actually no, those are dark oak walls. I just always thought this house looked really nice. I always thought this whole base looked really nice and aesthetically pleasing, to be honest. I always just, I just thought it was a really aesthetically pleasing base, and came together really well. And that mushroom cottage up there is adorable as well. And then as we take the sky elevator up to Slothy's island, I kind of built this island for him. He was planning on using it for something, but then he never really ended up using it for anything, so it's kind of just been sitting up here useless. But Darkest Mind designed the sky elevator for this, and I think this island still really looks pretty, so I thought it was worth being in the tour anyway. And then as the sky elevator docks, we enter Slothy's island. It's just kind of a, a classic floating island build, kind of just tapers off at the bottom. Yet I put this tree up here because I just thought it looked nice. It was kind of like, it looked like it was almost giving the island its energy to kind of, float in the air, because it just looked all powerful. I just thought this island sort of added a neat element of sort of magic to the whole landscape around it, and just looked really nice as well. And as we fly onto the top of the incomplete home of Darkest Mind, he never really completed his home, but I always just thought it was a really neat build because it was like super modern and almost futuristic looking. You got the concrete, the white concrete, and cyan terracotta, or is that dark green or dark gray concrete? I can't tell from here, but then you also got the bushes and the trapdoors. It's just kind of a classic Minecraft, post 1.12, I believe, modern home. You got the concrete, you got the lanterns, although the lanterns are actually 1.14, but still, I just think this home just looks nice, and this, it's just a quaint little home on top of a hill in the forest. Man, I'm losing my voice. If I continue talking like this, I'm going to be whispering by the end of this world tour. And over here we have the iron farm that Darkest Mind designed. He never really, I don't know if it was completed because I don't know how it worked, but it's always been kind of just pumping out iron anyway. It just worked. It actually worked like a charm because it's basically where I got most of my iron, because, he never actually laid claim to the land. I'm just kidding, no. I'm not like that, but no, I've just kind of been using this farm just because it's here and it's available and I need iron. And then as we come to the top of this mountain, we'll reach the base of Vista of Grace, and this base I can truly say is a mega base. You may have thought at the beginning that it was that, but no, it's this. Vista of Grace single-handedly hollowed out an entire mountain in probably her first week on the server, completely, or on this map at least, hollowed out this entire mountain and covered it in glass. This base, I can truly say, is probably the only mega base on the server, because instead of being like a city or something, it's one massive build. It's one massive building. It's one massive, well, actually, it's actually the opposite of a build. It's one giant hole in the ground that's been just filled with various automatic farms, villager areas, because Vista of Grace has always been kind of one to, she's always kind of been a villager person, so, she had to include the villagers in here somewhere. So over here you got the villagers. I always just thought this base was, quite nice because it's just so productive. It's not like the outside isn't super aesthetically pleasing, but what I will say is that this whole place is just really functional. Like, she managed to pack a lot of function into this base, and I just think it's just a really nice sort of self-sustaining compound. And speaking of compounds, out here way in the back country, we have the small compound of J. Frosty and Vista of Grace. This place never really took off because it was kind of an ambitious project. It was basically building a second base for them, and some parts of it are really nice. Like, I like this house right here with the rainbow path and the this building right here kind of has villagers underneath it. We had they had this whole villager trading hall underneath here, which is a really cool idea. But this whole place never really took off because I don't think there was enough, I don't think I had enough ambition to really build this place up. Although this barn always looked pretty nice. I always thought this place looked pretty nice. And, you got all the horse heads from all the... Yikes. And, yeah, I always thought these stables also turned out pretty well. You got all the horses on the inside. Lanterns lighting the whole place up. I always just thought this place was pretty charming. And here's something that makes me really mad. Vista of Grace tried to one-up me by building a wheat field that was larger than mine. So in retaliation, I just harvested the whole thing to breed some villagers, It's what friends do to each other. First one tries to one-up the other, and the other one just destroys their entire one-up. And here are the remnants of Vista of Grace's sheep after I did some lag clearing, these sheep being the lag. So we just cleared out some lag. And then out here in the mountains biome, Too Much Mustard and I have a build that I've never really shown you guys, and that's because our whole goal was to keep it secret. Basically, a few months ago, after a series of robberies and, general criminal acts by a few different groups of people on the server, Too Much Mustard and I decided that it would be just a good idea to kind of have a safe place to take refuge. So we built this place out here. It was kind of just a large fortress. It was just a large fortress sort of kingdom place where in case that a war ever broke out on the server, which seemed ridiculously likely at the time, we could sort of just hide out here. This place was fully self-sustaining. We had a beacon mine, the only still functioning beacon mine of the server at this point, actually. We had a super smelter. We'd put in items here, you'd collect them down there, and of course the large castle to defend us from invaders. So I just think this place turned out really well. I think this place turned out really nicely in general, and I also just like this. I just feel like this place just feels super grand and, just really nice and well defended, I guess you could say. It just feels like a military outpost. It feels imposing and, grand and powerful, I guess. And then and out here in the middle of the ocean, off the coast of the desert that is near Grimstone's Forge, is our massive mob farm that was actually optimized to be a creeper farm because we had carpets on some of the floors and also cats in the middle of all of them. So this place was designed to be a creeper farm, but it worked for a lot of mobs, which is nice because it means we could get chests that look like this, just giant quantities of unsorted bones and rotten flesh. It was just, you'd AFK here overnight, you'd open that chest and you'd feel like it was Christmas morning. Like, look at this. I could make so many fireworks. In fact, I'm going to make so many fireworks with this. But yeah, I just think this creeper farm has pretty much sustained Too Much Mustard and I for the entire duration of this season because it was constructed like the week that the server opened. So it was really just, it was an amazing investment, and I recommend it. If you're even thinking about building a mob farm, this design is the one to go with. Just these giant spawning platforms with a massive roof over them, and then just, kind of a catchment chamber on the bottom. Just amazing design. 100% recommend it. And our final stop on the InfinityCraft Season 1 World Tour is the home of Something Ribbit. This place, I just think, is the most charming build on the entire server. I'm not allowed to disclose the location of this build, but I just think it's the most charming build on the entire server. It's just a quaint little log cabin, nice interior, dog army that's waiting to kill me because I punched something a little while ago. And yeah, it's surrounded by swaths of untouched wilderness. And I also think that it's cool that you can just store stuff in the barrels out here. Like, that's wonderful. But yeah, I just think this base is one of the most quaint little bases on the entire server and deserves to be recognized as an amazing build. Even though it was built pretty recently and towards the end of the server, it's an amazing build in its own right. So yeah, it's an amazing build and I love it. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself because I am. I don't know, I can't find words to describe this build, but yeah, I just like it a lot. So I think it's time for one final flyover of the InfinityCraft Season 1 world. But I think this is just where I'm going to sign off now, and we're going to end the video with the flyover. So this has been VoidDoctor. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you in Season 2. Please like, subscribe, and share. Peace. Time for the flyover.